just going to tell a little Bible story this morning, and then I'm going to weave in Workbook Lesson 91 and Lesson 135, and I'm going to talk about Moses. So I want to talk about how the Moses story, in the metaphysics of it, relates to us, and how we stay in bondage to our own emotions, and how we don't want to go. So I woke up this week, and I was just thinking about myself. And I started thinking about all the people who come into our programs, all the people I meet along the way, how almost everyone, including myself, says, I will do anything to be at peace. Who says that? I'll do anything. I'm all in, right? We've all said that. And we beg and we scream and we pray to God, to the universe, help me. I'll do anything. I'll do anything. And then something comes as an invitation, and we don't go. Because it requires something of us. Either somebody's offering a paid program, and we just think, I'm not going to pay money. I'll do anything, but not that. I won't pay $1,000 or $2,000. Screw that. Like, I'll do anything, though. And then it's like, okay, give to your brother. Well, I can't do that either. Well, drop your judgments. Oh, I can't do that either. Like it's like we don't see our blind spots that we keep saying, I will do anything. And that was me for years. And when I finally saw what I had been doing, I had a willingness to do anything. And that's the fear point, because Barbie has arrived. Welcome. Love you. And what happens is that's your fear point. The fear point to leave your comfort zone. And our sadness and our depression and our sickness is your comfort zone. And Jesus calls it a prison of your own making. You literally have created bondage for yourself by your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your habits, by your belief in separation. And it creates this wall. And now you're stuck in it. And so Jesus gives us a Course in Miracles of how to leave that prison house. And almost no one wants to go. And so I love the stories of Jesus and Moses. So Jesus is just quickly, I'm not going to go into that story so much, is he had the same problem that Moses had. Is that he was 40 days in the desert, has a full-blown awakening to his identity as Christ, as the Son of God, which is what we all are, leaves the 40-day space, and is immediately, he doesn't go back to his old life. He's in full function now as the light of the world, goes down to the fishermen, down to the docks, and says, follow me. Do you know how many came? Only a handful. They didn't want to go. They were fighting because he's saying, drop your nets. Like, who here wants to drop all your nets? Anybody? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. How many of you guys online want to drop your nets? So that's all of them. Your control about money, your control about your relationships, your need to protect yourself and your identity, dropping your image. Who's willing to do that? Who's willing to not comb their hair in the morning? Drop your nets. now everybody's going, no. Bill says he'll stop it, and yeah, Arthur. But these are our nets. Our nets are whatever it is that is protecting a body image. And so Jesus says, drop your nets and follow me. And all of them wanted to go talk to their families first. And he says, no, we're leaving now. And the metaphysics of that is that if you're given time to think about this, you won't go. You will go right back into the energy field, because these energy fields are so dense. They literally are energies and vibrations that pull you into them. So Jesus, a master teacher, he knows this. He's like, no, we're leaving now. Who's coming? And only a couple went with him. And And he says, you can bring nothing with you. You can bring nothing. And nobody wants to do that, right? Until the moment comes when you have tried every path of the world and you recognize they all lead to the same place. And then you join the adventure. Then you say, okay, I have nothing to lose. And for me, I simply had a memory of how many times have I done this already? How many lifetimes have I gotten right to that point of going all the way? And then I go right back because of fear into that place of like trying to have a comfortable life. And in this lifetime, I just saw no way I'm going. Like whatever that means, I'm all in. And do you know how many people fell asleep when Jesus asked them the day before he was about to be captured? He asked his 12 disciples, stay awake while I go and pray. Do you know how many fell asleep? All of them. And I was there. I was one of them. You all were there. We all fell asleep. And that's the necessity for the mind training. It's like, you're not wrong, it's not bad. And Jesus even says that like there was no judgment about it. And Peter says, I will never deny you, Christ. And Jesus says, you will deny me 3 times before morning, before the rooster crows. And he's saying, no, I love you, I'm all in. And Jesus knows our mind. He's not judging, but he knows you will deny me 3 times before morning in the next 12 hours. And so when you start to know that, and it's like, to me, it's like a quickening. Like, okay, whoa, like I've been sleepwalking. The only reason we fall asleep is because we're sleeping. Right? That's it. Like it's nothing wrong with that, but Jesus was constantly saying, wake up. And Jesus never hung around to kind of say, oh, let's try this method. He says, get up and walk. That's all he did. It was a total command because he understood the vibration and the law of God. He understood. And he understood that everybody was in their own prison house. So he had to use that kind of energy. It was like a strong energy. Get up. It's like, oh, maybe I can feel okay. Like he didn't do that. Like he's like, exactly. It's like, wake up. And so I love the story. I'm no Bible scholar by any stretch of any imagination. I didn't even start reading the Bible till I was 33. I have no religious background at all, but I took a very deep interest in Jesus as a man and as the Christ when I was in my 30s. And I bought my first Bible when I was 33. Actually, I take that back. I was given a Bible as a child, so I do take that back. But I never looked at it until I was in my 30s. And then I got very interested in the metaphysics of the stories. And so the Moses story I love. So I'm just going to give a quick recap. As Moses starts off, you guys probably all know the image of that cute cherub chubby little baby in the bassinet. You guys all know the little baby on the Nile. And so Moses, as a baby, was put on the Nile to save himself. So in all the Bible stories, it's like they were always killing male children under the age of 2 to protect those that were in power. And of course, that's what we do here in the world. Like, let's kill everything so that we can hold our position. And so, thank you, Bill. So, he was rescued by the daughter of King Pharaoh. And so, Moses was raised as royalty for 40 years. So, I'm given an instruction to look at the camera. I love you guys. Thank you, Bill. That's funny. And we're always getting instruction, so that's awesome. I love you. Messages falling from out of nowhere. And so Moses was rescued by King Pharaoh's daughter and raised as a prince. And that was his life for 40 years. So the metaphysics of that part is that's the focus on the material world. It's like we're focused on the external, on the status, on the success, on our things. And then he killed an Egyptian. So now he's in trouble. And that's what we all do. So we all have a life. We're all externally focused on the material. And then we all kill an Egyptian. We all kill our brother. We do. It's like we kill something. And that's the belief in separation. And then we're in trouble. And then the guilt. And so he had to flee from where he was because they were looking for him to kill him. And he then, the next phase of Moses' life is 40 years in the desert, in a quiet place. So he went and he hid. And the metaphysics of that is the space you must go as you leave the external world to go within. That quiet, contemplative life where you're starting to allow this change to happen within you. And so he's just living this quiet life. He gets married. He has kids. So now he's 80. And the story's not over yet. And so often we think, well, I'm too old. Like, I'm too old. I don't have a function here. And so many of these Bible stories are really showing us, like, no, you're not over. It's not over till it's over. And you have a function to fulfill here. So at 80, he comes upon a burning bush in the wilderness. And that voice speaks to him. The bush speaks to him. And the metaphysics of the bush is your intuition. That's the voice for God. And it's a burning bush that cannot be put out. And it speaks to us. And so it speaks to him and it tells him to go free the slaves from Egypt. And of course, that's where the doubt comes in. We think, who am I? I love that lesson you read this morning, John, was about leadership. Because that's what all of us are being invited into, is the leadership of Christ. Every single person here is a leader. Because you're leading your own thoughts to get back in command. Like up until the point where you see what you've been doing in your sleeping state, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your words have been in charge. You've been a slave to your words and thoughts and beliefs and actions and emotions. And you just think, well, I have to just do what they tell me to do. Like, I'm afraid. My thoughts are like making me afraid. So I have to listen to my thoughts. And so there comes this point when you say, no, I'm going to shift my focus now on the truth of what I am. And I'm going to listen to this voice that's telling me that I can do something, that I have the strength of God. And this is what I'm going to read today in lesson 91. And so Moses says, who shall I say sent me? And he says, I am. I am sent you. And that's the Christ. That's your Christ being. And so Moses, terribly afraid. Like, he has to go back to the place where they're looking for him because he killed an Egyptian 40 years ago. So you have to go back. You have to go back to the place you swore you'd never go to. Your fear point. And he has to go face King Pharaoh. And he has to ask to free all the slaves. Like, he has to go face the establishment and say, okay, here's how it's going down. And, you know, he's like, oh my God. And so he has a stuttering problem. And he doesn't have to go by himself. So he gets help from his brother Aaron. I thank you, Bill, for telling me about that. I knew somebody went with him, but I wasn't sure who it was. But that's the metaphysics of that, is that you're not alone. Like, when you go to face anything, you are not alone. Like, the strength and the power and the presence of God goes with you. And if that's not enough, you'll have your brother. There'll be a physical person with you, or a community. And that's what this is. And so Aaron and Moses go to Egypt. And they go to King Pharaoh. And they say, okay, release the slaves. And you know how that goes down. He's like, no, we're not releasing the slaves. And so then he asked 10 times to release the slaves, and 9 times there was a no, and on the 10th time, Pharaoh said yes. And what happened is that with those plagues, that's what happens in our life. Like when you say, I'm going, I'm leaving the place I am, the desert, I'm going to fulfill my function, the voice, the burning bush that's in your mind that's instructing you to leave your comfort zone, which is sadness, sickness, being a victim, being a complainer, being a gossiper, being a judger, and you're invited to leave that place and take your place as the Savior of the world, to fulfill your function as the light of the world. And you're gonna get a no, right? Who's ever left that place and it's just been smooth sailing? Anybody here? No one. I know no one. And so 9 times, he asks, he says, this is how it's going down. And the universe says, no, it's not. And everything starts shifting around. So first plague, second plague, third plague, fourth plague. Unity calls this chemicalization. Jesus calls this the dismantling of your thought system. And Jesus says it will be disorienting. Like when you make a decision to leave your comfort zone and to go into the wilderness, it will be a big shakeup. And you will be afraid. And you will be told no. And so many people, when you're sick, and you say, that's it, I am totally just going to accept my healing, I'm living in that wholeness, and the sickness gets worse. Who's had that before? You have these things where you say, or you say, I'm just going to live in abundance now. And you lose your job and all your money. And we laugh because these things are true. Like this is the dismantling of your thought system, which you put in place. And this is why I love the metaphysics of Bible stories, because they show us how we operate, like how we can change. And so in the face of all those no's, so you're moving forward, you're saying, I'm taking my place as the light of the world, and you get a big no. You get a big no. Your family has now disowned you. Your children think you're crazy. People are saying stuff about you. We got some laughing in the background over there. And what mostly happens is people then say, oh, it's not working. Oh, this is too hard. But Moses was just like, he's got that voice in his head, I am, saying, try it again. Got the first no, try it again. Does it a second time, gets a no again, bigger plague. Voice in his head, keep going. Third time, bigger plague. It just keeps getting bigger, it keeps getting worse. And so we just keep thinking, this definitely is not working. I asked for miracles, and everything's shifting. I mean, more fear than ever. And finally, on the 10th time, he says, okay, free the slaves. And Pharaoh's child dies. And so that was the thing where Pharaoh said, okay, I can see there's a higher power operating here. And you're free to take the slaves. So he's gotten through the first hurdle. The next hurdle is the slaves don't want to go. So you don't want to go. It's amazing, right? Doors open. Come on, let's go. And you're like, I don't know. Because you don't know what's out there. Moses didn't know what was out there. There's no guarantees. I can't guarantee you anything. I can guarantee you perfect happiness, but I don't know the curriculum and how it's going to unfold for you. And so that's all I can say. I can say, like, this is a journey that must be taken. Free will does not establish the curriculum, but it does mean that you can choose the time that you take it. So I cannot predict for anybody here or there what your particular path is, because I don't know your particular blocks and obstacles. But I can tell you you must look at them all. And whatever they are, you are going to have to face them. And so that's an amazing thing, right? So the slaves that don't want to leave is us in our emotional state. The Christ has come, Moses has come, Lisa Natoli has come, and says, let's go. And we're like, no, I don't know. They say, drop all your judgments. Lesson 100, one of my favorites, and I mean that totally. Seriously, that one's one of my favorites. We will not let ourselves be sad today. So he doesn't say maybe if situations change you won't be sad today. He's commanding us to be masters of our emotions. We will not let ourselves be sad today, for if we do, we fail to take the part that God assigned to us. And what he says, your part is to be happy. Joy is your function here. It says that. Joy is your function here. And it says, God's peace and joy are your inheritance from God. We will find them now, today. And so it takes determination to leave the wilderness, to leave Egypt. We're leaving Egypt now. It's a place where you've gotten very comfortable. So in chains, you still don't want to go because you know where your next meal's coming from, right? You just think, well, this darkness is, it's uncomfortable for sure, but at least I know like where I'm sleeping tonight. At least I know I have some semblance of safety here. And at a certain point, you come to this place and you have to make a decision. Jesus says it well over 100 times. You must choose. You must decide. Nobody's going to do this for you. So what I thought when I kept saying, I'll do anything, I'll do anything, I'll do anything. And then somebody would come and say, okay, I need you to pay $2,000. I'm like, oh, no, not that. Or drop your judgments, drop your grievances, drop this. So what I thought was that there would be some magic wand and that I would just wake up one day totally happy. And there would be money in my bank account. I'd have perfect health. My relationships would all be awesome. And then I would be the most generous, loving, giving person on the planet. Right? And it seems stupid when I say it, right? It seems so ridiculous, but that's how we think. What?
We'll be happy not now.
Yeah, we'll be happy later. Exactly. And so, can you be the most generous, happy person now, fulfilling your function as was given to you by God, and not use the body's eyes anymore, not use the body's senses anymore, but to take your place as a savior of the world? And so I just love that Moses story because it's like he finally had to go. They all did not go with him. But there were some that said, okay, I'm going. And of course, the next part was 40 more years wandering in the desert. So Moses was also out of alignment. Like you can look at these stories and you can see how everyone's doing the best they can. But he'd had an experience where he led them out of the slavery, out of Egypt, into the wilderness. And for the next 40 years, they wandered because he's not listening. We're just not listening to the voice within. And that voice tells us where to go, what to do, what to say. But it requires a collaboration of listening. It's like, okay, I am getting out of the way now. Like, I'm going to learn to work with this light. And what it says in A Course in Miracles, I'm going to do lesson 91. And I'm just going to skip over briefly to lesson 135 because it's the same lesson. It's got the same formula that Jesus uses of seeing your thoughts, correcting your thoughts, replacing them with the truth. And he gives this formula in many different places in the Course. So you must watch your mind carefully. And then what it says, when you say these lessons, he calls all of these practices practice periods, and you take time to practice. So he says, when you say, I accept my part in God's plan for salvation, and you rest and you really allow yourself to think about what that means, the light of God goes and finds all the darkened places in your mind and lights them all up and dissolves them. I love that. And it says you can't do this alone. You can't heal yourself because you made yourself as a separate being, as a body. You did not create yourself. And so when you come to this place, when you start collaborating with the light that you are, and you say, this is my dedication, everything changes very quickly. So miracles are seen in light. I love this lesson. This was the one that Bill Free used a couple of years ago when he had his knee surgery, and he was addicted to pain drugs. And I did not know he was addicted to these pain drugs, except for that I knew he was totally different. Like for all of those months after the surgery, he kept sleeping late. He kept being all drowsy and whatever. And one day, he did this lesson, Miracles Are Seen in Light. And this is the replacement of your thoughts as weak and powerless with the truth of what you are. I'm not weak but strong. I'm not limited but unlimited. And very shortly after that, he took all those pain pills and dumped them down the toilet and never took them again. And that's where you see the strength of God is working in you. Like you're not a body. And so it says here, miracles are seen in light. I have to blow my nose for a second. One moment. The light's moving, right? Ha. I love it. Be yourself.
I hope you turned your mic off.
I did not. Why? Because I have no image to protect anymore. Ha. Funny. I love you guys. Okay. So miracles are seen in light. So it is important to remember that miracles and vision necessarily go together. This needs repeating and frequent repeating. Light, miracles, and visions go together. It is a central idea in your new thought system and the perception which it produces. The miracle is always there. Its presence is not caused by your vision. Its absence is not the result of your failure to see. It is only your awareness of the miracle that is affected. You will see it in the light. You will not see it in the dark. So this is the entire Course in Miracles that talks about a miracle as a shift in perception. So I'm always saying, what's your location? Where have you located yourself? And you know where your location is by how you feel. And that's your point of viewing. The point where you stand is the point that you view the world, and as you see yourself, that's how you think you see the world. So if you see yourself as a body, all you see is other bodies. And if you see yourself as a body, there's only one thing that can happen there, is that you see yourself as weak. Because that's what a body is. And when you see yourself as weak, you get all the other emotions. And now that's all you see. You're literally standing in the dark and you cannot see there. So you have to make a decision that I'm going to shift my focus now to a point that I'm going to view from, which is the light. And there you see, oh my God, I'm the light of the world. I'm not a body. You merely see the body as outside of yourself, and it becomes a perfect, healthy, strong instrument. It says that. The body's health is guaranteed. It says that. The body's health is guaranteed. But only if you don't associate yourself with it. So you have to see the body as outside of you. It's not you. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing. You're the light of the world. And you start to identify with the light and not the body. You identify with the strength in you, with the grace in you, with the light in you, with the joy in you, with the peace in you. And over, Jesus keeps saying, and now give it. And the way you know you've received it is by your giving. And so, yesterday I spent the whole day just reading a ton of messages, and, God's peace and joy are mine. And God says, receive them now. And this is true giving. This is lesson 105. Like in your receiving, that's what giving is. And in your receiving, now you can give. Now you acknowledge, peace is mine, joy is mine, happiness is mine. Not later, not when the external picture changes. It's mine. And I can now give it in this place of darkness, in this place of sadness, not waiting for the picture to change. And so, to you then, light is crucial. While you remain in darkness, the miracle remains unseen. Thus you are convinced that it is not there. This is Egypt. It's got to get you out of Egypt. You cannot stay in your story. You cannot stay in your problem. You cannot stay in your bondage and see the miracle. You will never see it. So it takes courage, trust, willingness, commitment to do this, to take this journey. And you finally say, okay, I'm going to make that shift. And it's just a shift in perception. It's not a big deal, but it is the fear point for everyone. Because it will be the end of the world. It will be the end of you. And so, who's in for that? It will be the end of you. It'll be the end of your image. It'll be the end of your identity. But if you want, hey, this is just a better way to live. This to me is there's so much freedom in this place. And then you are calling others, which are simply your own thoughts, to join you in this place with you. So, while you remain in darkness, the miracle remains unseen. Thus you are convinced that it is not there. This follows from the premises from which the darkness comes. Denial of light leads to failure to perceive it. Failure to perceive light is to perceive darkness. The light is useless to you even though it's there. The light's all around you. God is here. Angels are with you. The presence and power of everything that is with you. And we can't see it because we're stuck in our story. So, the light is useless to you even though it is there. And once you perceive it, Jesus then, the master teacher, is going to instruct you how to use it, how to work with it, how to send it, how to extend it. He's going to teach you how to work with the light. And that's just a way better way to live than the way we've been living in our stories, correct? And so you cannot use it because its presence is unknown to you. And the seeming reality of the darkness, I love that. And he used the word seeming so many times in this course, seeming. It's just an appearance. The seeming reality of the darkness makes the idea of light meaningless. To be told that what you do not see is there sounds like insanity. It is very difficult to become convinced that it is insanity not to see what is there and to see what is not there instead. You do not doubt that the body's eyes can see. You do not doubt the images that they show you are reality. Your faith lies in the darkness, not in the light. And so what Jesus is about to instruct us to do is put our faith in the light. Put our faith in the love of God within you. Take your faith and move it from your story, move it from the darkness, move it from the appearance. And he says, make a decision to not use the body's eyes anymore. Because these eyes are not what Christ's vision is. Christ's vision is the light which sees everything. And that's what this is talking about. God is the light in which I see. It's a lesson. That's how you see. You identify with the light and you see through that light. That light is seeing through the body. So your faith lies in the darkness, not the light. How can this be reversed? And I love the Course because he always gives us the answer. For you it is impossible, but you are not alone in this. That's what I was just saying. You can't heal yourself, and you cannot do this alone. But you're not alone. Your efforts, however little they may be, have strong support. Did you but realize how great this strength, your doubts would vanish. Today we will devote ourselves to attempt to let you feel this strength. When you have felt this strength in you, which makes all miracles within your easy reach, you will not doubt. The miracles your sense of weakness hides will leap into awareness as you feel the strength in you. And so that's that first paragraph in A Course in Miracles, that all our blocks and obstacles are hiding the light in us. So you must see the block. Like your sense of weakness is blocking you from seeing the truth behind it. And this is what Bill's always talking about, the awareness. He uses the word awareness like 5 times in this lesson. Like it's already there for you, but we can't see it because our weakness is blocking it. We literally can't see it. You can't see the love you are because of your false belief of your weakness. And that creates a whole world for you. And you finally say, that's Egypt. I'm leaving. Who's leaving Egypt? Who's coming? Okay, fantastic. And then what you'll see is like you're going to get the first no, and you get the second no, the third no. But there's no going back. There's no going back to Egypt after you've said, I'm leaving. And you will be tempted. You definitely will be. Yeah, it's funny, right? Because we get pulled back. It's like, all right, I'm going. And it's not smooth sailing. Like, it requires mastery.
We're comfortable in our fantasy.
I know, exactly. We do get comfortable there. Until you don't. And Jesus says in one of the early chapters, is that when you make a decision to take this journey, what used to be semi-discomfort now becomes major discomfort. You can't, the tiniest little thing now is so uncomfortable, and you don't want to hang on to it anymore. So it says 3 times today, set aside about 10 minutes for a quiet time in which you try to leave your weakness behind. This is accomplished very simply as you instruct yourself that you are not a body. Faith goes to what you want, and you instruct your mind accordingly. I love that. So faith goes to what you want. Joe Dispenza, who I love, he talks about that where your focus goes is... I'm trying to think how he says it. It's like where your focus goes is where the energy goes. So he's saying that he has this meditation, the blessing of the energy centers. Does anyone know it? And it's Joe Dispenza's teaching is very, very similar to A Course in Miracles, even though he never talks about the Course. But it's overcoming your environment, overcoming the body, overcoming everything that you made, all your stories for a moment of entering into a meditation and allowing yourself to become aware. He uses the word aware even more than Bill Furry, if such a thing is possible. That's true. And become aware. He does just his meditation. Who's heard Joe Dispenza's meditations? Become aware of the space around the space. Right? And now, become aware. So he's having you start in the body. He says you have to start in the body. You have to start from the place where you think you are, which is exactly what Jesus says. And then we're going to lead you from the space where you think you are out, beyond the body. And so he says, focus your awareness on the space above your head, the crown chakra. And what he says is whatever you focus on is where the energy goes. So when you become aware. So he does this thing where now he sort of starts here and goes down to the bottom, goes through all the chakras, blessing all the energy centers. So he starts with the base chakra, the root chakra. You put your energy and focus there, and you bless it. So you move right up, and this is what this is saying, is that wherever you focus on is what you want. And so what we've been focusing on is our problems. Nothing can change when you're focusing on your problems. So you're shifting now out of the darkness and focusing on the light, on the strength in you, on the love in you, on God. And when you focus on that, you won't be afraid. You're like, oh, God's here. I have nothing to fear. It doesn't matter. And so faith goes to what you want, and you instruct your mind accordingly. Your will remains your teacher, and your will has all the strength it needs to do whatever it desires. So God's will is perfect happiness. That's God's will for you. So whenever you are experiencing anything besides perfect happiness, guess whose will you're following? Your own. Does everyone get that? God's will for you is perfect happiness. So if you're following any other emotion than perfect happiness, you're following your own will. And so and that's why all of these lessons after 91, leading up into the 100s, are all about God's will for me is perfect happiness. I accept my part in God's plan for salvation. I accept the happiness. I claim it. Joy and peace are God's gifts to me, my inheritance. I claim them now. And he says, find them now today. That's amazing. And we're like, well, I'll find them when my bank account looks a little better. I'll find them when my body's healed. No, can you accept God's will for you now and live it and be it? That's what you are. And that's why I wanted to bring the Egypt story in today, because we all say we want it, and there's even a lesson in here that says, I want the peace of God. Many have said these words, but very few mean them. And if you could just mean them for an instant, the world would be saved. And he says, if two or more join in this agreement, Bill and I did this last Sunday. Bill came into my office, and we both get really excited with the chorus still. We're like, oh my God, look what it says, oh my God. And we get all excited like little kids. And he reads it to me, it's like, oh my God, we have to do that. He says, where two or more minds join in this one intent to only want the peace of God and to renounce all dreams. And so on Sunday morning, we just went down into the living room, and we both had our books, and we read it. And then we invited the Living in Purpose group this week to join with us. And now I invite all of you, like to renounce all your dreams, drop all your nets, like we're leaving Egypt, and to say it, I want the peace of God. And if that's true, you won't enter into another conflict ever again. You won't, because you'll remember, I want the peace of God. I care about being right. I don't care what people say about me. I only want to bring peace and joy to the situation that I'm in. And so it says, you can escape the body if you choose. You can experience the strength in you. Begin the longer practice periods with this statement of true cause and effect relationships. Miracles are seen in light. The body's eyes do not perceive the light. But I am not a body. What am I? The question with which this statement ends is needed for our exercises today. Listen to this. It says, what you think you are is a belief to be undone. So you think you're a body. You think you're weak. You think you're sad. You think you're sick. You think you're alone. You think you have no money. What you think you are is a belief to be undone. But what you really are must be revealed to you. So when you have the willingness to question your beliefs and not hang on to them like they're the truth, the truth now can be revealed to you because your beliefs are the blocks and the obstacles that are blocking the light in you. So you just question it. You say, I'm sick. It's like, hold on a second, that's a belief. How can I be sick? I'm not a body. And you have the willingness to simply say, I'm not a body. Can who I am be sick? Can who you are be limited? Can light be limited? And so now you're questioning every belief that you have, and this is the work, and it's full time. Vicki calls it JC Central, like we're working for JC Central. And it's full-time work, and it's the best job ever. And now you recognize how you're the savior of the world because there's only one mind. You're healing all of these thoughts in your own mind, and they just fall away because you're not holding on to them anymore. So the belief you are a body calls for correction being a mistake. The truth of what you are calls on the strength in you to bring to your awareness, there's that word again, what the mistake concealed. If you are not a body, what are you? You need to be aware, feel free, of what the Holy Spirit uses to replace the image of a body in your mind. So this is actually the unity teaching also. This is Myrtle Fillmore. So she was sick. I'm a child of God, I can't be sick. That's what she said. I'm a child of God, I cannot inherit sickness. And she was not using the body's eyes anymore. So she was doing the find the thought, correct and replace with the truth. That's this. So it's not a magic wand. It's not like I hope I'm healed. It's like you're being determined to find every single thought and correct it with the truth. If you are not a body, what are you? You need to be aware of what the Holy Spirit uses to replace the image of a body in your mind. You need to feel something, to put your faith in as you lift it from the body. You need a real experience of something else, something more solid and more sure, more worthy of your faith and really there. And that something else is the strength of God. You feel the strength of God. You feel this presence and this power. You feel the love of God within you now. You feel this peace. And this becomes all that there is. If you are not a body, what are you? Ask this in honesty and then devote several minutes to allowing your mistaken thoughts. This is the formula. This is where I'm going to go over to 135 in a second. Devote several minutes to allowing your mistaken thoughts about your attributes to be corrected and their opposites to take their place. So you're not waiting for a healing anymore. You're saying, okay, wow, I'm just finding my thoughts. So what it says here, lesson 135, the self that needs protection is not real. The body, valueless and hardly worth the least defense, need merely be perceived as quite apart from you, and it becomes a healthy, serviceable instrument through which the mind can operate until its usefulness is over. And then it talks about defending the body. When we defend the body, we're attacking ourselves because we're now identifying ourselves as a body. For you have seen in it the faults, the weaknesses, the limits, and the lacks from which you think the body must be saved. You will not see the mind as separate from bodily conditions, and you will impose upon the body all the pain that comes from the conception of the mind as limited and fragile, and apart from other minds and separate from its source. And here it is. This is lesson 91 in lesson 135. These are the thoughts in need of healing. So you're a healer. This is why we're all healers. You're devoting yourself to healing now. You're saying, I'm going to find those thoughts. I'm not going to let them run the show anymore. And this is Joe Dispenza. Like when he broke his vertebrae and his spine in 8 places, he made a decision, 2 decisions. The one decision was that he was acknowledging a presence and a power. He called it an intelligence. That there was an intelligence that was with him, as him, that would heal him. And he was going to start working with it. And the second decision he made was he was not going to let one single thought slip by his awareness. Those were his decisions. And he committed himself, I think it took him 8 months, to heal a completely broken spine. They told him, you will never walk again. And if you get out of this bed, your spine will collapse under the weight of you. And so, he'd been given this diagnosis, and he didn't believe it. He said, no, I'm not a body. I am this intelligence, I am this presence, I am this power, and I am going to heal the body by healing all the thoughts that I thought about myself. And so, these are the thoughts in need of healing, and the body will respond with health when they have been corrected and replaced with truth. That's the formula. Does everybody get it? That's it. That's it. We find the thought. We say, no way. That's not me. I'm not sick. I'm not limited. I'm not doubtful. And we correct them and replace them with the truth. This is the body's only real defense. So, I'm not going to finish that lesson right now because I want to hear from you guys. So basically what 91 is saying is that I'm using these ideas to state my belief and correct it with the truth. I am not weak, but strong. I am not limited, but unlimited. And that's how, when Bill did that, Bill read lesson 91 when he was in the middle of a drug addiction after his knee surgery. And he recognized, weak, strong, those pills were controlling his life. And our emotions are controlling our life. We all have these things that we have allowed to be in charge of us. And then you just come to this place, you say no more. So I'd like to hear from anybody who would like to share anything on this lesson. Bill? Feel free in the house.
I love this teaching. It's really so accurate, so current for all of us. And a lot of the live streamers love it too. In my mind, I think it's one of Lisa's best teachings. And the thing that is curious, and this is every time I hit that workbook lesson where it talks about the body being healed, it's like, okay, now I'm focused on the body. And so there is an interest in that, in the healing of the body. But you actually notice that too, because that's where the mind will come in and go, oh, there's a loophole. Look, body healed. And for me, I have to take the teaching that you just presented perfectly, and I have to remember that my interest is not in healing the body. My interest is not to have a healthy instrument. It's really to be in awareness of the truth in all things. And that's the only way that I'm going to be able to, above all else, only want the peace of God. Is to only want that, and nothing else can come with that or in front of that. It has to be only that. So it's kind of a paradox, don't you think? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. For me, what's interesting is most of you know, I had been going through physical symptoms, and they continue to this day. So just on Wednesday of this week, my eyes, I've been having this light sensitivity. My eyes on Wednesday were so bloodshot. I mean, completely red. Bill saw me. I couldn't keep them open. The light was so bright, and I was in so much pain. Liquids coming out of them. It's just that's the plague that we're faced with. And all I can do is I'm doing the work. There's no turning back. And I'm standing here before you today totally fine. Right? It's like you recognize nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop the Christ in you. And of course, my mind went straight to Friday. It's like, oh no, I have to teach on Friday. This is bad. I mean, I don't know what happened, but it was this light sensitive. I literally couldn't keep my eyes open. I couldn't open them. And so for hours, and bless Bill, I just love you so much, Bill, because he knows not to go into the story with me. So I'm not going into the story, but I can't open my eyes. And I just basically kept my eyes closed, and we just had a 2-hour conversation with me, like in the living room with my eyes closed. Totally fine. And I went to bed early. I took a bath. I went to bed early. But my mind starts futurizing, thinking, how am I going to teach on Friday morning? How is this going to work? And then my mind goes to the Camino. Oh my God, I'm going to be 10 days away with a group of 22 people, and my eyes won't open. I'm going to be out in the bright sun in Portugal and Spain. So the mind, I know, right? So I'm already going like, oh no. And I start thinking, like, John Mundy's coming over for dinner on Saturday night with Rod, and I'm thinking, oh no, like this, like the mind, that is where the mind wants to protect the image. It's like, okay, do anything possible to just stay in hiding until the body heals. So I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because it has nothing to do with the body. It's what it says, the body's health is guaranteed. Do I look sick to you right now? Not at all. The body's health is fully guaranteed. And the body will be strong and healthy, a serviceable instrument, if you do not misabuse that with your own plans. So lesson 135, I encourage you guys to read 91 and 135, but 135 is another one of those ones that Bill and I got all excited like little kids about. It's like Jesus says, the body's health is fully guaranteed, however. So he gives us a however. The however is there's 3 things that this protection, he calls it a protection, must be carefully guarded. Jesus says so many times, starting in chapter 1, you do not guard your thoughts carefully enough. And if you do not guard your thoughts, I cannot use you. You cannot help me. And so what he's saying is that the body's health is fully guaranteed, but this protection must be kept in place by not going back into attack thoughts, not planning, and not judging. And it says, as soon as you go back to any of those things, the body's going to be sick again. It says that. So like me blowing my nose, perfect example. Who cares if I blow my nose with the mic on? Right? Like it's, I want to be a good teacher, and I want it to be a clear communication and whatever, but I'm very much aware of watching when I'm trying to be something. I'm trying to make you like me, or I'm trying. Like at a certain point, you say, I am here only for the salvation of the world. I am here to bring peace and joy and love and abundance to all the places that we go. So we're right at the end. Kelly Russell in the house. Come on up. My favorite Barbie.
I love your teaching. Oh, stay up here. I just wanted to say I love this teaching, and it's such an awesome demonstration of you not seeing with the body's eyes. Mm-hmm. So the ego mind is freaking out, and oh my God, and what about the teaching on Friday, and what about people coming for dinner and all of that? And that's seeing with the body's eyes. Mm-hmm. And you can't do any of that if you don't have the body's eyes, right? And you just didn't even look at it. Yep. You just looked up, right? Like Jesus did. Yep. And saw with Christ vision. Yeah. And now look at you. Yeah. It's great.
I love it.
It's awesome.
Thank you. I love it. We're right at the end of our time. I love you guys. 2 minutes. Okay, Monica.
I can't not speak. Is this on? Yeah? Okay. So the two topics were so amazing, and it's how they intertwined for me was the commitment that it takes for you to drop your nets, drop the things you're attached to that are attached to you. Nets are a great analogy for that. When I made my commitment to truly waking up, I dropped everything. I mean, I was married, I had a big house, I had kids, and I simply had to truly let go of what I thought was going to happen, or I didn't know if I was going to have any money. I just said, I have to go. And to this day, I mean, that was, 18 years ago. To this day, my life's been in a series of adventures, where we're not without challenge, there's still always challenges, but are you willing to just drop everything and go? Where the voice is saying, okay, now 4 years ago, moved back to Maine. Okay, really? Maine? Okay. So I'm back in Maine going, what the hell am I doing here? Completely unknown, completely no plan, no money. And still, it's given, right? It's given. I've been given all you guys, this amazing community, this amazing connection that we get to be in together because we're not alone. When we decide to join with the Christ and really say yes to Jesus, it means your life becomes anew. You get to be a whole different person. So, and then, everything gets healed. Your body's healed, your mind gets healed. And it is still work, though. And that's why I love the Joe Dispenzas and the Byron Katie's and the Lisa Natolis and all of us who are committed to the truth of, all right, I am going to be this light of the world. Now what? Let it come to you. Discover it, right? I work with people. It's like, just let it come. You have to discover what that is. You have to discover what you as the Christ are going to do and be in the world. And it's really still an illusion. So have fun with it. And I've really learned that even though I go through deep, dark moments of fear, that really, are you sure? It's still, the answer's always given. And there's always, just hold on a moment. Don't be impatient. This takes a little time. You're going to have to, learn faith, patience, gratitude. And the healing of the body and the mind happens simultaneously in my mind. I've been healed of depression. I've been healed of anxiety. I get these bloody noses once in a while. I have no idea what that's about, but there they are, and then they're just gone. And so, we just can't take it too seriously because we are already in the light, and we all are already being that light. So, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I remember that day in Maine. So you came back to Maine, and I've known you for a long time, and I had been out of touch with you for years. 5 years or more. And then I was having lunch with Nancy up in Maine. We were at Lois's. You had just moved here?
It was the first lunch that we've had together since
Okay. So Nancy and I have been friends for a long time. So she just said that she had just moved back here from Florida. I invited her to go up to Maine, which is far away from here. It's like an hour away from here. We're having lunch outside. And all of a sudden, around the corner, it was so weird. It was like my mind couldn't figure out, because you're from Wisconsin. And all of a sudden, it's like, Monica, so weird. I was like, what are you doing here? And you're like, what are you doing here? I was like, well, this is Nancy. This is my friend Nancy. And then I told you about the Friday group that day. I said, oh, you totally have to come to the Friday group. And then you two end up being roommates. So, but that's how this works. There's literally an intelligence and a presence and a power available to you. And when you make a declaration like the one you just expressed, everything starts lining up for you. Things start, and then I met you again in a totally different location down at the factory. And that was another weird, I was about to shoot a video. Bill's got the camera on me, and I just suddenly was like, can we not do this now? I need to go have a coffee. Bill's like, yeah, that, because you learn to trust in stopping what your plan is. I go upstairs, and you're sitting in a coffee shop in that factory in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, Monica, what are you doing here? You're like, what are you doing here? I said, we work here. So I want to just invite everyone to spend some time this weekend on paper, do it on paper, reading these lessons and seeing what nets you're willing to drop and what dreams you're willing to renounce. And just see, am I ready to totally take my function as the light of the world? Your part is to be happy. And this is an uncompromising path. Would you be willing to take your part as happiness and joy, even if you never got healed and you died? Who would be willing to do that? You're not going to die, but the thing is like this is the invitation. When you recognize how much of the mind is on the body identity, what if you never got healed physically? Would you be willing to still be the light, to fulfill your function as joy no matter what? Because you can't die. And that's where you come into this place of like, oh my God, I'm really not a body.